All right, let me know if you guys can hear me. I just want to make sure sound and everything is working because every time I try this, it's a struggle. I'm guessing you can hear the guitar, but can you hear my voice? Nice. Let's get some music going here. Do a little bit of jamming tonight. All right. Gotta wait for all these ads. right, that was fun. Jason, man, thank you so much. You guys don't have to do that. I'm just getting on here to jam and have some fun and communicate with you guys. And did this, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before or something like that, but it's just fun to get on here and connect with you guys. That is very, very generous of you. So thank you. Jason, if you have any requests or anything, so at least I can earn it. Ear training tips. Start with interval recognition so that you just start by identifying intervals. Hopefully you guys can see me here. And this mic only sticks out so far here. But you want to be able to identify one note to another. So if I say this is an E, I can play another note and identify, the distance from this E to another note. And what that would be called, what interval that would be. So at first, it almost doesn't matter what note it is. It's the interval. And then from there, you could get into identifying scales by their intervals, by their degrees. So being able to hear the difference between and two different scales, right? And then really importantly, get into chord progressions. So you can hear what a 1-4-5 or a 2-5-1 or all these different chord progressions are. And the nice thing with chord progressions is there's really only so many in popular music. So if you can identify like maybe a half dozen or up to a dozen chord progressions, you can actually learn a lot of music by ear that way. So hopefully that helps. Second scale was Phrygian. Yeah, so I played a Phrygian dominant there, which is a Phrygian scale with a raised third or a major third. That major third just sounds so resolving. First one was Dorian. Very good. You got some, good ears on this live chat. All right, going back to Jason because of his very generous any EVH. Oh man, Eddie's like my favorite guitar player ever, hands down. And yet when someone goes, play some Van Halen, it's like, it all escapes me. And then, of course, some of the ones I think of are in like different tunings and stuff like that. But what was I jamming the other day? I was actually teaching I'm trying to play it a fret back so that it sounds more like it. Something like that, but Spanish Fly. Oh man, you're starting off strong here. I honestly don't even know if I could do it. Spanish Fly is like a physical torture to play that. I really don't even know how he did that on the classical guitar. That just astounds me. Look at those stretches. That's just like insane. And then do that on a nylon string classical. Insane. Yeah, I appreciate all these questions you guys have here. This is awesome. I do post a lot of the educational stuff. This isn't meant to be a plug, but like I post weekly educational stuff on my Patreon page, which is where I post a lot more lesson stuff. Um, and it's just like kind of smaller community that people can request stuff and ask those questions, and it's a little more like kind of tailored. It's hard on YouTube, to be honest, when to make a video that almost covers all the bases, but then also um, is not like 45 minutes long or something like that, which would be a hard video for people to watch. So if you're interested in the lesson stuff, check out the Patreon page. All right, now that my hand's slightly more warmed up from attempting Spanish Fly, let's see what this is. Hot 80s hard rock backing track.
It's mesmer.
That sounds promising. Hot 80s in G minor. So as I said last time, this is what I do a lot of times when I'm practicing at night, is just play over backing tracks. It works on your timing, your fretboard knowledge, your creativity, all that kind of stuff. And just random backing tracks and random keys, and you just have to react. So I don't know what this sounds like. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't actually watch any of the changes on the screen. I don't want to, because I just want to use my ear to kind of react to what I'm hearing. But let's see what it's like. That was fun. I was trying to go for like 80s rock a little bit. Let's try another one.
This is our call to inaction.
I'm glad you guys like the live streams. It's a lot of fun. I love doing this kind of stuff. Back in the day, I used to do a lot of clinics. I used to do a lot of like in-person clinics, and this is like a digital internet version. So it's a lot of fun, and yeah, this should be a weekly thing. I totally agree. All right, let's see what this one sounds like. Oh, more ads. Get the hands warmed up. Certainly. All right, that one was okay. So I can't tell what threw me off in that backing track, but there's like a, I don't know if you guys heard it, but if it like skipped or something, it's hard to get back into it. All right, I do want to see what you guys are asking. I don't want to just solo, but yes, I am sorry if this is really, really late or technically early in the morning for you. I'm soloing in the key that they tell me the backing track's in, and then I'm trying to use my ear to kind of identify some of the changes and what I would play over top. This is an Epiphone hummingbird behind me. The kind of funny thing, because it's in like all my videos, and I do use it sometimes. It's actually my wife's guitar. It's not even my guitar. It's hers. It is really nice though. It's a very nice acoustic guitar. It just definitely needs some fresh strings. I don't know if you guys can see, but those are super dead. Do you have any tips on learning to improvise? Yeah, so I mean, as brief as I can make it, improvising, first of all, is just like a lifelong journey. You're just always looking for new ideas, always looking for new inspirations and stuff like that. So it's not like something you practice for a few months and then you have it. But first, just get some scales underneath your belt so that you have some shapes. But one mistake a lot of people make, I find, is they're always in a rush to learn the entire fretboard within different keys. And I actually think that's a mistake when you're learning to improvise. What I always do with students, and I've done in a few lesson videos, is only use a little bit of the fretboard. So, and I can even give you guys an example here, but if you have the whole fretboard in a key, you're almost not, at first you're not going to know what to do with it, and it's not actually going to help your phrasing in any way. It's actually going to hurt your phrasing, because a lot of people have the misconception that they have to use the entire fretboard because they know it, and that's really, really not the case. Look at any of the great guitar solos, but look at Comfortably Numb and stuff like that. It's like he's sticking to a small section of the fretboard for the majority of it and creating an iconic guitar solo. So limit yourself, give yourself just a little bit of a scale shape, and try to come up with the most musical, creative phrases that you can come up with in that little box. So two things I would do with students is I would restrict them. This will be fun. I'll do this in a second. I will restrict them to one string. So we'll key is this one in. It actually doesn't say in the title. Okay, let me find one here so that I can give you an example. Is this B minor? Okay, so one of the best ways to work on phrasing is to restrict what you have to use. So instead of having the full scale shape all across the fretboard and know everything, that's not going to help your phrasing most of the time. So what I would do with students is restrict them to like one string. And first of all, it forces you to know your scale across one string, or like just more horizontally than vertically. A lot of people practice their scales, up and down in a box. That will make you phrase a certain way versus playing your scales across one string. It kind of makes you more aware of each interval and each jump between notes. And it's almost more similar to like how you would sing the notes versus play on the guitar, because any of those kind of pentatonic, you're not going to do that on a single string. It's not going to be comfortable or natural. So restrict yourself. So here's a backing track in B minor. All I can use right now in this example is the second string. So out of all 7 strings, only the second string I'm going to use. Forces me to know my scale across the strings. And the nice thing with having 24 frets is you got 2 octaves. But you don't want it to sound like you're restricted to one string. So you're trying to think as creatively as possible to come up with really nice phrasing, nice musical ideas. And then, of course, whatever you do come up with, any new ideas you have, then you put that into your normal repertoire of ideas. But it forces you to think outside the box and think creatively. So let's try it. So hopefully you could see that whole time I was just using the second string and only the second string. Now, obviously, if I'm like performing and I'm trying to create a really good guitar solo, I'm not only going to restrict myself to the second string, but it forces you to think differently. It forces you to think creatively. And Rick James solo. And it gets you thinking of new ideas, where if I have the entire fretboard under my fingers, then it can almost be too much to actually think creatively, and then you just end up running up and down scales, and it's not yeah, it's not going to help you too much. So you said I have nothing in my head when I improvise. Now, I love talking about improvising because it's one of my favorite things. So, just another thing to mention there. Another thing I do with students, and this is hard to do as a guitar player because you, the challenge here is you want to almost fight muscle memory. So, it's really, really easy as a guitar player for your fingers to take over, and your fingers are making the decisions musically, right? And you don't want that. You want your ear to be making the decisions at all times, right? Not the theory, not the technique, and all that kind of stuff. Your ear. Um, in my opinion, at least, if theory says something should sound good and you don't like the sound of it, then you're right. Then you don't like the sound of it. It doesn't sound good to you. Um, or if something's out of the key or out of the box and it's not supposed to work, but it sounds good to you, then you're right. It sounds awesome, right? So, anyways, when you're practicing improvising, instead of letting your fingers take over and you're just running up and down scales that you have memorized, what I would do is play over a backing track or something and start with a note. So, I don't know, let's try, like, pretend I'm going. I would play just a single note and not move from that note until my ear tells me what I want to hear next. And it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of discipline to do this. But just start with one note. So that's even still busier than I would normally suggest being, but just start with one single note and not move it. Until your ear is kind of guiding you whether you want to hear it going up or if you want to hear it going down. It's a lot harder than I'm making it sound. It takes a lot of discipline, but it's one of the best things you can do to, not let the fingers take over. So I can't stay on here for crazy long tonight, but let's do another one here. Let's try this one. I like picking them at random, so I don't know if they're gonna sound good or not, but I do have a couple channels for backing tracks that I usually like the sound of and know that they're usually pretty good. All right, let's see. Any other questions here? Yeah, hopefully those tips help, and hopefully you get something out of that.
Enter care.
Man, so many ads. kind of ironic, like someone who does YouTube videos complaining about the ads on YouTube videos, but hold on. Jason, you're getting carried away, man. You don't have to do this at all. I'm happy to answer these questions and everything. You don't have to do that. I really appreciate it. I will take requests for you if you have any. But that's very, very generous. Listen to that. I like this one a lot. I really liked that one. I think I went a little out of tune, unfortunately. Ruins it, you know? Yeah, that's what I thought. Nice. Now, split coil. I do have to run in a second here, but if you guys have any questions or anything before I go, since I did some improv and everything, I am happy to answer some questions for sure. Jason asked, "What would you play if none of us were here and no cameras were on?" This is 100% what I would be doing right now. 100%, no difference. Jamming to backing tracks, trying ideas, throwing stuff out, seeing what sticks, and trying to connect with the music. That's the hard part. Just trying to kind of get in that groove and connect with it. Harder to do than it sounds, but it's always so rewarding when you can get into that zone. I felt like I was in the zone with that one a little bit until I heard that I was out of tune, and then it kind of ruined it. I'm just using backing tracks off YouTube. There's a couple channels that I like. I believe it's Pat Matrone, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Pat Matrone is really good. That's what I was using there. YT Jam Tracks is awesome, and my buddy at Now You Shred makes really good backing tracks too. Do I use the same thought process as I described earlier when improvising fast runs? So it is really hard to improvise fast runs. I do, like, that is what I was doing there, and I try to do it, and it also is, hard or extra pressure when you're doing that live in front of an audience, which is you guys. Usually when I'm practicing alone, I'm just trying things and seeing what sticks. So there's a lot of failures. There's a lot of mistakes or things that don't work just because I'm just trying things out. Most of the time for fast runs, especially at first, you would want to work out some things. You would want to have some licks that you know, and you kind of sit there and work on them. Whatever they may be, and you develop them up to speed. You get them in your repertoire so that when you're improvising, then you can throw that in. And you know you can execute it because you've sat there and practiced it, and you come up with pentatonic licks, and you come up with minor scale licks, and so on and so on. But then, so most of the time when you see players improvising really, really fast, most of the time they're not actually improvising. Oh man, Will, I see you here. So about to go to university to study music, currently having doubts about whether or not if I have what it takes to become successful in the future. Is there anything you could say to help me? Yeah, so I went to school for music. For those of you who don't know, I studied at Musicians Institute in Los Angeles, which is where like Paul Gilbert went, and Sinister Gates and Mateus Asado and all that kind of stuff. So I have conflicting ideas on going to school for music, and this will be encouraging, not discouraging. But the thing is, if you're talking about being successful in music, obviously, if you're going to school for music, getting gigs no one cares if you have a degree. No one's ever asked me if I have a degree or who I studied with or how many skills I know, or people don't care about that. They care if you can play. But obviously, going to school for music is a great environment where you can focus on building up your chops. And even more importantly than building up your chops and your musical ideas and everything is actually the networking. That's, going to school for music, where you're going to have way more opportunities come your way if you network with a lot of people there versus trying to get gigs yourself. Um, it was actually kind of funny when I went to MI. I actually was asked to be on a panel for a seminar to speak to the students while I was there as a student, which was kind of funny. And it was on music business. And one thing I said, which I still believe, is it's, that everyone says it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I don't fully subscribe to that. What I think is it's not who you know, it's who knows you. So if for me, I was always the rock guitar guy, and if people needed a rock guitar guy for a gig, I would get the phone call a lot of the times, especially within Canada. Um, so I would get a lot of opportunities that way just because people knew who I was when it came to that, kind of niche. One other thing I'll say with niche is when you go to school for music, it's very often that they teach you that you need to be able to do everything and anything because, as they always say, like, you could be called for a blues gig next weekend or you could be called for a jazz gig. And it is true. Like, it's good to try to learn as much as you can and play different styles 100%. But you get a lot more opportunity by actually having a specialized niche, because if I'm a producer doing a big song, which of course, don't get too excited if it's a super small song that no one's going to hear, right? Um, if I'm a producer producing a song that needs like a really great jazz guitar solo, they're not going to call someone who kind of plays jazz. They're going to call the best jazz player they know. And if they want that, soaring, ripping rock guitar solo, they're going to call the best rock guitar player they know. They're not going to call someone who, kind of dabbles in rock, right? So it's actually really good to have like a specialty and to focus on what you do really, really well and just try to get as good as possible at what you do, right? So basically what I'm saying is, don't be afraid to specialize. Don't diversify too much where you're not really a master of anything, right? And try to network with as many people as you can, including the teachers, because they're out there gigging too. They're out there auditioning for gigs and stuff like that. So you are competing against them, unfortunately. Just network with as many people as you can. And just, again, it's a great environment because you're just going to be surrounded by music at all times. And it's a really good environment to like just really boost your level up in a short period of time. So hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully that's encouraging. And best of luck when you go to school for music. And just, yeah, make the most out of it. Get to know as many people as you can and uh, learn as much as you can, I would say. Yeah. And go to every audition out there. Go to everything. Audition for everything. It doesn't matter if it's what you have in mind or your specialty, just go because you never know where it leads. When I was at school for music, I wanted a touring gig. That's what I wanted, was a pop touring gig. And I was lucky at one point to have experience playing for a pop act. But there was an audition that came through for producing music for TV shows. And I had like basically no experience producing music, but I went to the audition and I ended up getting the gig. And I think it was because no one else really went. I was like, I don't even know if anyone else went actually, but it turned out to be a really good gig. And it kind of led me down a different career path, which was making music for TV shows, which I did for quite a few years and had music on all different networks and shows and all that kind of stuff. And you get royalties, you make money from it and everything, which is great. So it's like it also financially was a good thing. I learned so much about producing and everything. So it wasn't what I thought I was going to be doing, but I went for it anyways, and it was awesome. So go to every audition you can. Oh, thanks. You follow me on Instagram. Yeah, Still kind of new on Instagram, only a couple months now, but it's been a lot of fun, and it's been amazing to connect with some people who don't know me from YouTube or TikTok and stuff, and it's been awesome. Yeah, it's been really, really great. Yeah, I think that's the best advice out of everything I just said. That's actually the best advice, which is spandex will get you noticed. So just wear a lot of spandex, tease the hair. That's why I didn't get the gig, because I couldn't. I think that's what it was. Was like, but yeah, stand out. Wear spandex. A lot of bandanas and Motley Crue t-shirts and. All right, guys, I do have to run in like literally a minute here. But yeah, it's always so much fun coming on here with you guys and just chatting and talking guitar and improvising over some tracks and stuff like that. It kind of keeps me sharp too, because I have to improvise like in front of you guys. A little bit of extra pressure, but you guys are awesome. So I'm gonna have to run. I do appreciate all of you guys joining me on here tonight. Let's do this pretty often. I don't know if I can absolutely promise every single weekend, but I will try to do it like maybe once a week or something like that. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun to come on here and join. And sorry, I'm trying to read at the same time. So all right, guys, I do have to run. All of you, greetings from Toronto. I'm from Toronto. Yeah. A local. But all right, thank you guys. I do have to run just because it's getting late here, but we will jump back on here next week. And once again, Jason, I just want to say, if you're still on, thank you so much for the super chats. Or it's very generous. You guys don't have to do that, but I greatly appreciate it. So thank you. And maybe good reason to keep doing this weekly. So it's a lot of fun. You guys have a great night, and thank you again for joining me.